So the next panel that we have is we have a panel on AI, tech, art, and media by LaRae Infinity and Central Reed, co-moderated by Legina Harris of the US Space and Khalil Vincent of TechFest Live. Let's go ahead and put our hands together. Welcome them to the stage. A little bit louder than that, y'all. Come on, rock the roof.
Let's try again. All right, y'all. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning.
I'm really excited about this panel. As you've heard, I'm the owner of the US Space, but I'm also a media personality here in Houston. And I really enjoy media. So LaRae Infinity is my brand. I have LaRae Infinity Media. And we decided to do a two-part conversation around what tech and AI does in all of the spaces that sometimes get left out of this tech and innovation conversation, which are creativity, media, sound, music, and audio. So yesterday, we had 4 business owners up here, all Black males that own tech businesses here in Houston that nobody knows about, that are really doing great things. And so we wanted to continue this conversation with our women that are running the media game here in Houston. So ladies, if you'd like to come up, because I need you to introduce yourself. So Asani, Tiffany, and Centrell, y'all come up here. I don't know how we got them all on the same schedule. So we are gonna capitalize upon this time. Welcome up to the stage. That's their mic. We're gonna share this one. And we're going to get started. So next to me is my friend and co-moderator for the day, Khalil. So say what's up, tell them who you are and what you do, and then we'll talk about why you're moderating with me.
Good morning, everyone. It is great to be here. Legina, thank you for the opportunity. My name is Khalil Vincent. Bear with me a little bit. I've been doing elevator pitches all week. But I'm the founder and CEO of TechFest Live. We're a nonprofit ed tech organization here in Houston. We exist at the intersection of education, workforce development, and economic growth. And our mission is to connect the youth of today to a better tomorrow through technology opportunity. So I do this through a number of ways, but the youth are the future. Technology is the future. It's been that way for a while. And I just think it's very important that at scale, we really show students how technology, how they can be a part of this digital, this new digital world. So I'm happy to be here with our panelists as well and looking forward to the conversation. So thank y'all for joining us.
Mm-hmm. I think that as a community, one thing that we integrate into our framework is the fact that Black males and Black females do work together and we do amplify each other. And so we like to support that here. And so when Khalil and I had a conversation around moderating, it was around making sure that we were supporting and amplifying the Black female voices that are in the media spaces. So that's why we're all up here. And these are all powerhouses. So when we're framing this conversation, tech as a bridge to ownership and equity is really the angle I go with. And what's your angle?
So for me, it's storytelling and how storytelling is that currency. If you're not telling your story, I mean, you have to. It's important because with the internet, right, you can get your story global with a click of a button. So I'm looking forward to diving more into that and how that plays a part with everyone here on the panel and what that means to them as well.
Mm-hmm. Centrell, we would love for you to introduce yourself. And also as you're introducing yourself, just talk about, because we're all long tooth in the game. I know everybody up here looks super young. Don't get it twisted, right? Just talk about even the change in media in the spaces as tech has come into the game, because you're really doing some interesting stuff with that.
Awesome. So thank you for having me. Everyone, I'm Centrell Reed, owner of Cree Global Media. Excited to be a part of this panel. And what I do is streaming, TV, distribution, developing apps, monetizing content, direct to smart TVs, strategic communications, marketing, and media. So essentially, it's your ecosystem with tech and content, which is what you need as a business owner or as a content creator or any type of organization, really, and kind of thinking about how I came about this. And I know this is going to come into some of the other conversations. I really wanted to make sure that I gave an intro in this answer. I came about this because I have a passion for making sure that people are being recognized for their creativity and that they're monetizing from their creativity. And that also means you need to handle it like a business. And that's unfortunately not the way creatives think. So just in case you use your creative brain a little bit more, you might not be using the business side. So I also lead the Houston Entertainment Initiative to expand entertainment in Houston. And kind of like Khalil said, it's about creative workforce development. So it's always about monetizing. It's always about creating opportunity. It's always about making sure that there's space for people to do the things they love and make a room for making money in that. So then when you start thinking about technology, how I got into what I'm doing with my company was we started with production, just like a number of companies are. You can find production companies all over. Yet Houston had a gap, and I'll talk about that a little bit later. Yet the gap helped create streaming television as a pillar for my company when the pandemic happened. And I believe we all can say that there are a lot of doors that have been opened since then. So I'll definitely share a little bit more about how that works. Yet technology is for each and every one of us. It's here. So anyone who's not maximizing it, you're missing out. So great to be here.
Peace and greetings, everyone. My name is Isani Padmexaba. I am currently serving as the Director of Marketing at the Ensemble Theater in Midtown Houston. I am also the owner of a business called Aesthetic Alchemy. I'm a creative director. And what we do at Aesthetic Alchemy is we work with brands and businesses to bridge that gap so that there's no funny space between what the branding is and what your marketing is. Oftentimes, people spend a lot of time developing their brand without considering that marketing is different from branding. So what happens is they try to market different products, services, events, or other initiatives, and they find in the public space that people don't recognize them, don't understand what they're doing, the messaging doesn't match. So my business works with business owners like yourselves to make sure that your marketing matches your branding and that you have coordinated and cohesive campaigns so that you can get those conversions.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Tiffany Williams. I'm the CEO and creative director for Twice Media Productions. We are a full-service event, video marketing, and production firm located here in Houston. We primarily focus on corporate events, so doing their video, photography, and live streaming. We do that for corporate events such as golf tournaments, trade shows, galas, conferences. And essentially what we help our clients do is devise a strategy around how they can leverage video before, during, and after their event. And we've been in business for 13 years. Our studio is actually not far from here. And I'm excited to be here today and to learn more.
Yeah, so thank you all for sharing. So we want to get into talking about how are we profiting from, like Centrell was saying, what does that look like, right? We are telling these stories, we are trying to get that out to the public, but where does the profiting side come in for creatives and business owners? Can you all talk a little bit about that?
Sure, I have the mic, so I'll start. Well, for me, I think it was understanding, finding our niche. So we've been in business, as I mentioned, for 13 years, and we were profitable pretty early on, but we were also kind of doing all of the things. We were doing personal events and corporate events. And so I decided at a point, primarily because of my personality, I couldn't do brides and their mamas. So we weren't going to do weddings anymore. We were going to focus on corporate. And so that corporate and government. And so we got into contracting and we were able to get some pretty substantial contracts. And even after that, we decided to narrow our focus even more to events. So we can still do the creative and the campaigns and all of the fun stuff, but we recognize that events was a way, especially in Houston with so many events. I mean, we've got this event. I just left an event at GHP. There's Afrotech. Like, there's so many things happening in this city at all times. And so I think a lot of times, especially as creatives, we and entrepreneurs, we want to do everything because we have all these big ideas. And I heard for years to narrow your focus, to niche down, and I just didn't listen because I was like, well, what if I miss this opportunity or what? And it was like the light bulb finally went off when we focused on one thing, we were able to scale almost immediately. And I can see the difference in how I'm able to step away from the day-to-day of the business and be able to participate in events such as this and speak on panels and travel and do the things that I need to do to move the business forward, because we were able to make that transition and really narrow our focus. So that's one example, obviously, of how to monetize.
I'm going to take a shot in the dark. Was it about 4 or 5 years ago?
It was, yes. Well, so as a result of the pandemic, we started doing a lot more live streaming. So everybody moved online. Everybody was doing remote events or hybrid events. And so we really dived into that space. And that is when I started looking at our historical data as a company, because we've always done events, but it was never our focus. And so I said, well, we're actually making a significant chunk of our revenue from events. So why not just focus on events? And so, like I said, we still do other stuff. We just don't market ourselves that way anymore. So we can do that for our longtime clients, and we can even do it for new clients that come about. But we're really trying to rebrand ourselves as the premier event company, because there's just, again, there's ample opportunity
There's so
here in
many
Houston.
places
It
to
doesn't
go.
make sense, right? And so we have been fortunate to expand into the Dallas market. We're trying to get into other markets as well, because everybody's having events. And so just being able to be there and to understand, and that's the other piece. You get so good at something when you focus on one thing.
You get
so
so
it's-
good at it.
Yeah, like you're like, oh, I don't want to miss this opportunity. But guess what? You have SOPs around this particular service offering. You are known in the community for this service offering, right? You can perfect it at a point, and you can speak the language, and people take note of that, especially corporates and government, because they want to make sure they're working with qualified vendors. And so that's been one of the ways that we've been able to
I'm
that.
one of those people. I'm an open source fangirl. I let people know, and I'm all their fangirl. But I asked the question because I noticed the pivot 4 or 5 years ago when she started niching, because the word no came up like a lot, and that's a good thing. And it's also one of those things that I appreciate you telling the progressive story of a business owner, because you don't have it at the beginning. You just don't. It's ugly. It's really ugly. And even with LaRae Infinity Media, we're starting to niche in on what not only we're good at, but what you like to do. Those are two different things. Because you can make money doing something you don't like to do, but then we go into burnout and mental health and wellness. So really understanding that. And also then you said something very impactful, the client. There are some things that you don't want to deal. You don't want to deal with the bridezilla clients. Some of us may like that. I like it. I'm like, okay, breathe it out. This is what we're going to do. Shake your hair. You feel good. You know, all of that. Tiffany, that's not her personality.
Not at all.
And then after a while, my project manager is like, don't talk to them anymore. I've got it. You know? So I really appreciate you saying that progressive piece. Khalil, what you got on that?
Yeah, I wanted to ask you, and this is for all of you all. You're talking about, the government contracts, and you move to the corporate space. To be profitable, right, you have to have outcomes, right? And so can you just talk a little bit more about those outcomes and how, when you started, how those outcomes led to the success that you're having? Because sometimes, these corporate and government contracts want to see a certain thing. And if you're not delivering on those things, then you may not be able to reap the benefits. So just talk a little bit about how you focused on those outcomes when you narrowed down, and what were some of those outcomes for you?
Well, our mission at Twice Media is to give every client the Twice Media experience. So looking at some of the most successful companies in the world, like the Chick-fil-A's and the Amazons, you can listen to their CEOs talk about the importance of being hyper-focused on the customer and the experience. And so we did that since inception. You always deliver on what you say you're going to deliver on, because even though Houston is this big city, I always say it's the biggest, smallest city, because everybody knows each other and all of these companies are connected. And even when you think of competitors, a lot of them have, especially supplier diversity, that's how I got a lot of my opportunities through that space. They're all connected. They all hang out. They all talk to each other. And so if you do good in one area, then they're going to recommend you to their peers. And now you go over here and do well. And that just opens up the door to more opportunities. So I think just having that at the core of everything you do. And we actually kick off our Monday meeting with what is the what is our mission? And somebody on the team says to give everybody the twice meat experience, and we all clap. I'm usually the one clapping. They look at me crazy, but it's to reinforce that idea of literally everything that we do needs to be centered on how are we thinking about the customer. So I'll give you an example. The CEO or the founder rather of Southwest Airlines, they always talked about, and they've gotten far away from his philosophy now they're charging baggage fees and stuff. Mm-hmm. But usually, like in the past, his whole thing was ask yourself, is it about the customer, right? They were like, well, other airlines are offering meal service on, we don't do that. So, we should start. He said, okay, well, are we going to be able to offer fair, low cost rates to our customers? And if the answer is no, then that means no, we're not doing it. So we're staying true to what we say is important to us, and that is the customer and keeping our fares low. And so I use that philosophy in my business. I'm asking my team, well, they have an idea for something. Well, is that going to contribute to our customer experience? Is it going to make it better for you or better for the customer? And you have to ask yourself those questions as you move about. And I think that naturally helps you have better outcomes.
Yeah, and so again, we're talking about who gets to tell the story, who gets to profit from it. So, Shani, please share.
Who gets to tell the story? So one thing that well, this is an interesting question. One thing that I love about technology is that anyone can tell the story. Everyone is equal in technology. And the reason why everyone is equal is because there's no barriers to access. So as long as you have a phone, a computer, and/or access to one, you can start your journey there. You don't need all these, and forgive me because everybody's trying to sell something. You don't need all these softwares and hardwares to go about your journey. You can start right where you are. And what I have noticed, particularly from AI, is that it is the largest equalizer that I've ever seen in my life. We're talking a lot about business development, and the way that I got into the industry is I used to be a recording artist. And I wasn't understanding why I wasn't progressing in the music industry. And what I found is that, with creatives, like you said, is that there's the business portion that's missing. So what I saw as a gap across the industry, entertainment industry, regardless of what type of entertainment, dance, music, theater, art, whatever, is there's this huge gap of the business development of a creative business. And even with business-minded people, there's such a large portion of the process where they leave out marketing. Like, people don't really understand how pivotal marketing is, appropriate marketing, proper marketing for your business, as far as getting you that visibility so that you're on the road to profitability. So now let me tie it all together. You as a creator, you have this wonderful story that you want to tell about your journey. You're not thinking about selling products. You're not thinking about selling services. You just really want to share a part of yourself. So you get on TikTok. You start doing TikToks about a portion of your journey of, I went through this. And I'm keeping it very general so that you can put yourself in that driver's seat of this scenario. So I want to tell a journey. So you notice, the first couple posts, you're still trying things out. You're trying to get the lighting right. The camera was crooked. You you edited a video just so the app could not post it and delete it and tell you that there was an error. So now you have to spend another hour and a half editing the same video. Once you get past all those roadblocks, your story's out there. So people are starting to interact. What most creators experience is not a lot of engagements when they first start on their journey. So then you start to get discouraged. Well, that's the time where you set in of like, okay, well, what tools can help me better tell this story? And then what can I do better to make sure that people are connecting with me? So that's the problem that I help people solve, is how can we get people to connect with you better? And how can you present it in a way that's more appealing to you? That's why I named the company Aesthetic Alchemy. We upgrade your aesthetic. We focus heavily on visuals as part of your storytelling, but visual storytelling isn't the only storytelling. So it's about how you present yourself. It's about how you come on camera. Are you funny? If you're not funny, can you not be funny and still get a lot of engagement? So there's a lot of different things that go into that. But bringing it all to a close for this question, at least, is you have to have all those things working together in a way that works for you and whatever your business is, so that you can get to the point of profitability and greater exposure.
Thank you.
Yeah, and Central, same thing for you. Who's telling the story, and how for your business, for Creed, how is that profitability happening, and what does that look like for you? And then also touch on the outcomes a little bit as well.
Okay, sure.
Outcomes and ownership, because I think there's a big conversation that we were talking about yesterday, where there's a big conversation yesterday that we were talking about with the ownership in the Black media spaces, and the ownership and the money not getting to us, but us being the creators of the culture.
Yeah. So I'll take you back to where I kind of first had the idea that we needed to have ownership. Most people don't know I used to do music talent management and R&B in Atlanta, and I used to do music talent management and rap in LA. Very interesting dynamics. So you can imagine in LA, I was probably, the only female that ever really had clothes on, because most of the time they don't. And it was interesting to me because the artists that I was managing, they didn't own any of their music. And in order for them to make money, they had to perform. And it was maddening because you have to be booked to the next thing, to the next thing. So just imagine being a manager and having to make sure that those things are happening with the booking manager. And it's rap and it's California. And there's a whole lot of dynamics that go along with pretending to be on when you're not on. And we're talking about some folks that are linked to very big people that you would know in the space. And I don't like to name drop, so I won't do that yet. The thing that I noticed then was they didn't own anything. And I remember giving my artists Rich Dad, Poor Dad as a Christmas gift because I felt like they needed to understand that dynamic. Now, I also felt like I'm going to just create something that, one, was about uniqueness and what you bring to the table, so you don't have to be homogenous. LA is pretty homogenous, or at least it was then. I'm not going to tell you when it was, because then you realize I'm not 25 again. So it was all the same stuff, and I felt like we do bring a lot of creativity, and everybody has a story. Everyone has their own story. There is no duplicate, right? So until you put it out, just like you see now in social media, which has been an equalizer, technology has been an equalizer. You see that now, that unique stories are bringing out a whole bunch of people, and you find your tribe, yet that takes time. So fast forward to, I want to make sure that people bring their unique self and they monetize from that, brings me to Houston in 2012. And I said, well, I'm going to start kind of getting social. And I know this question is coming later, and you have to thank Legina for having the vision to create this, because this is your biggest asset, relationship and community. And just in case you don't realize how big it is, then this is where you need to start getting into networking classes and how do you maximize the spaces and the rooms that you're in, because the people that are doing things now, like you have Twice Media, 5 years ago, one thing, now something totally different. This is your network. These are your connections, right? So fast forward to, I actually start Cree Global Media in 2018, and we were doing video production. We had a studio in the Galleria area, and our focus was podcasting. It was doing television shows, documentaries, interviews, things like that. And I was excited about that because I had just come from a radio show, and we were doing Facebook, Facebook Lives direct from the station. I got introduced to streaming television when I went to a conference in California, and that's what changed the trajectory. So someone said, hey, well, why is your show not on streaming? And I thought to myself, you can't get on streaming. You got to be on Netflix, or you got to, something like that. Well, the technology was already starting to change, and I need to preface this with, I'm a certified project manager, and I worked in technology. So I was building apps for banks and financial institutions so that they could use gas station pumps, they could use mobile, they could use anything on the web and conduct business for your 401k, for loans, for checking accounts, savings accounts. This is what I was doing. So there's a lot of knowledge in this little small frame. And so They tell me about streaming television. I'm like, this is great. I'm going to try it. And I put my radio show on streaming television, and people were actually subscribing to it and paying for it. That's how you monetize. See, most people don't think, oh, I could be doing that. Now, I invested in this. I need to be clear. I invested in this. This is not social media for free, YouTube for free, and then there's an algorithm. What you invest in is what you're going to reap a return from. There is no zero investment, $1 million return. There's nothing like that, right? So we can all get that out of our minds. Yet I invested in that, and then I looked at their technology, and I was like, I'm sure I could do better than this, right? So I started doing a little research, and I met some strategic partners that helped us create Cree Global Media's television network. And it's amazing. You walk down the journey. I'm talking about streaming television to everyone I can think about, and everybody's looking at me like, "What do you mean? We're on social media. We're on Facebook. We're doing these things." And I'm like, yeah, no, you invest in this, and then you get somebody to pay you $3.99 a month. And I mean, that's $4 a month. You get a million people to do that. That's a lot of money, which is what everybody in this room is doing, by the way. It's what everybody is doing. Yet nobody's making that money because they're not investing in the platform. They're using someone else's platform who, by the way, doesn't even tell you who the people are on the platform. You don't own it. So I'm going to wrap this up with, I decided to go ahead and invest in the streaming in 2019. And because I had worked in technology, I knew all the questions to ask. I had no idea where this was taking me. I knew all the questions to ask. I knew how to negotiate the terms of the contracts so that people wouldn't keep pushing the fees up. And then the freaking pandemic happens. And all the people I've been talking to about streaming television, including city governments, were banging down my door. Like, how can we get off of cable? Because everyone's dropping cable and they're trying to get onto digital platforms. And that's how I monetize that space.
I love that. I can't wait to our Friday coffee talks.
We do have
Yes,
those.
we do have Friday coffee talks. And I just realized that all three of these women actually are around and use the US space in some type of capacity. So I'm like, yes, I'm about to corner all y'all at some point. If I walk up, that's how I got her.
I think I'm feeling sick.
I know. That's how I got her. I was like, would you like some coffee? And
She does do
next
that.
thing, 2 hours later, and so these really intricate conversations. And, there's another obvious point to be had is that we're all in aligned spaces. And I know people are always like, there's room for everybody, but there really is. And then you also see once you get to your niche of your niche, sometimes people are going to reach out to you about something that is not your niche or doesn't make you happy, or a client that pays well, but you are not interested in working with. And so referrals come in, and it's kind of a shady thing. I'm like, hey, you want this client, they'll pay you. I don't like them though. So, I mean, even that kind of stuff is something that comes aligned. Are you willing to drop a bar from one of your clients? You don't have to drop their name, but you could drop a bar. No?
Well, I will tell you
I thought
that.
she's about to bust out.
I could, but I'm not going to do it. I will tell you this, and I like what Tiffany said earlier. One of the things that has kept us continually making money, and this is a shout out to the city of Houston, I courted them for over a year. And most people will say, don't be in all the spaces. I was in all the spaces.
Repeat that part about what you do. You courted them?
I courted them.
For over
a year. And when I say I courted them, I courted the congressmen, I courted the mayors, I courted the city council members, I courted the different departments, whether it was the airport or whether it was any of the public works, because I wanted them to all have my name in their mouth, right? And so you need to be where people are. Relationship building and community. It is not easy. Yet, once I did that, then I had to back it up once I got them as a client. I was top of mind when the pandemic happened. And when I say top of mind, I got a phone call that said, hey, could you get us a proposal that morning? Yeah, I can absolutely get that to you. 2 hours later, hey, did you send that proposal? No, I haven't. I mean, I ran after you for a year. You can't give me a day, right? Yet I gave them the proposal and they were done the next week. And that has grown to a 6-figure contract, and it's also grown to them recommending me to other city governments. And the part that I like about what Tiffany said was the client, you're servicing the client. My clients always say, we have great customer service. It doesn't matter what it is that they need, where they are. And let me tell you, they ask for more than streaming. And some of those clients you're going to give more than what they actually asked for originally, or what you normally do, because you can and you want to service them well. Yet the service is what's going to keep them there, right? So do what it is that you say you can do, and then do a little bit more.
Yeah, absolutely. And I say all that, and I think all of us would agree on the thing where it's like, you listen to these panels and you're like, oh my God, there's so much to do. Just one thing at a time. It's cool. It's going to be there. Trust me. You're doing it. So it has to be done by you. When you think about AI and technology, and we've all been on the mic at some point, and you're thinking, you're like, if I say this, is this what I'm going to be held to for the forevers? And especially, I talk about 9/9 in the 2000s and when I went to college, and I'm glad my college wasn't live streamed. My world, I'm real glad. Like the Freaknik, there's a couple of videos. If you were on top of the car in that one video, you're bad. Right. But rather than that, we were all free of that. But now, even my radio show, I had Stomping Ground with LaRae on All Real Radio out of 3rd Ward for 3 years. And I used to say things, and I'd get home, and what was my show, from 9 to 11 at night? And I get home, and from like 12 to 2 in the morning, just be thinking about what I said. And I'm like, it's recorded forever. People are going to hold me to this forever. It's scary. So I started saying I reserve the right to change my mind, right? So I want to know from y'all that moment, or those moments that happen, and how does technology help or hurt you in those moments? Because it's scary. Cancel culture, wanting to be very true to your word, but also understanding that we receive information and we change it up so quick, and it's not us being inconsistent or not accurate, but there's more information to be had. So I'd love to hear, as people that are leaders in marketing and media and creativity, how you're navigating that with technology as the center of it.
Thank you. So I think it's important in responding to that to bring us back to a space where we realize that on the human journey, we are constantly evolving. We have to give each other grace and space to be human. So I'm going to start there. What I have always done is, throughout the different phases and eras of me, is stand 10 toes down on whatever it is I'm talking about, have an opinion on, choose to speak publicly about. I am very particular about what I speak publicly about. Like, there are some issues you will never hear me speak on. And it's not because I don't care. It's because I'm a research person. I'm a huge nerd. I love to read, study. Like, I watch documentaries for fun. So that's how boring I am in real life.
Documentaries are not boring. Raise your hand if you watch a documentary. Yes. Yeah. Did you watch the one about the last slave ship that went out to Mississippi?
Yes.
I had all the little kids in my community sit right here. They were like, that was us? Yeah. Love a documentary.
Or even the Master P documentary, you just watch the verses for No Limit and Cash Money. Everybody wonders why Snoop is always with Master P. Because he's the one who made sure he
put him on the money in business.
Mm-hmm.
He spit those bars and verses. I was like, go Snoop! I forgive you for DJing.
And being Rasta, allegedly. So
next.
So I think that it's important to emphasize that. Like, I do choose very carefully what I choose to speak about publicly. Then when I make the decision to speak about something very publicly, I give myself first the grace and the space to evolve. I try to be as well researched as possible when speaking, especially being in a position where you are a media person, because I think that Centrell and Tiffany could agree. Like, when you start getting into your business and you're really in the flow, you're growing, you're scaling, you're meeting all these people, you're at all the things, you become very recognizable. So even if you don't have necessarily that celebrity, like, we think about like Beyonce or Taylor Swift and people like that, you're still very recognizable in the community. And as you speak more, your words hold weight. That being said, life is an evolution. It's a journey. So there are things that I thought 15 years ago that I was 100% adamant, no, this is what it is, that I just don't even want to touch now. And there is media out there that has me, speaking on those things or standing behind whatever it was at the time. And what I choose to say is, you know what, at that time, these were my thoughts based on the experiences that I had and the research that I'd done. I've learned more and I've grown more since then. And now my opinions have changed. If you'd like to talk about how they've changed, I'm open and available. But if it becomes like a cancel culture thing, which I don't agree with, and I'm going to explain why.
I do not either.
And I don't even fully believe in it. I'm going to elaborate on that. There's just no room for it other than dealing with someone who just wants to be difficult, because there's not a person on earth, regardless of where they come from or who they are, who doesn't understand that things change over time. And change is good. When it comes to cancel culture, what I see happening, especially when you have like this overview of what's going on in media, like you have this very leader mindset, and you can see a big picture more clearly than others who are only looking at pieces, is that you start to recognize a lot of people are just in echo chambers, and they have found, this tribe, right? That they have, yeah, the echo chamber, the yes men of the internet, that clump together around certain very limiting beliefs. That's usually where you get like this cancel culture thing from. I think there are some times where it's very valid. I think Me Too movement is a great example of, a type of cancel culture that was very helpful to the community, especially with the majority of us being women and understanding, particularly in media, what that can look like. Because I've been on a lot of sets where I was the only person dressed. So, and even when you're dressed, you're still being sexually harassed. You're still being propositioned. You're still being asked to prostitute yourself. So there's a lot of things that happen. But that's how I look at all of that, is that, you're a human being on an ever evolving journey. You have the right to change, and you should be changing, because anything not growing is dead. Mm-hmm. And people who are not willing to understand that you were a different person 10, 15, 20, 25 years ago than you are standing before them today, I would actually question their sanity. Because if you are the same person after 25 years, then something has gone terribly wrong.
Well, I mean, she might as well drop the mic after that. She said it. But I think the only additional thing that I would add to that, because I'm similar, I have a journalism background, and we were taught, you're not supposed to share your political beliefs online and things like that. And so that always stuck with me. And then when I started my business, I also, because I knew where I wanted to take my company, I was always looking at corporations, right? There's always a blueprint. They've already done it. And I'm looking at a lot of these companies, and I'm seeing what they speak on, right? And how, like, I might have a bad experience with a client, but I will never put them on, on blast. And that's one of the reasons I've never wanted to work with celebrities, because they will absolutely put you on blast. And it could be just because you charge them and they felt like they should pay you an exposure. And I'm like, if I don't want to be exposed to more people that aren't going to pay me, so no thanks. So that was my way of approaching things, because I'm one of the people, I never have time to argue with anybody online. So I have certain things that I just won't speak on, like she shared. But there are things that I'm unapologetically going to speak on. And that is like, being a Black woman and a Black business owner and supporting my community and things that I'm very passionate about. But I try to stay above the controversial part of it, just because I never have time to argue with people online. And so I'm very, I guess, intentional about what I support and what I say. And it doesn't mean that I don't feel passionately about certain things. It's just being online, you have to be careful, because you can be held to what you say and how you feel in a certain space. But I think the other piece of that is also being authentic to yourself and showing up as yourself and being unapologetically yourself. And I think if you're coming from that standpoint, you're less likely to say something that is off the wall or that you'll regret, because you're not being an echo chamber. You're not just regurgitating information that you heard from somebody else, but you've done your own research and you have, you're coming from a place of authenticity. And so I think just operating in those spaces, that's how I approach it. I try to always be myself, and I try to also think about my company and how other companies that operate at a level of excellence do what they do. And so I try to mirror that.
Yeah, I love that you say that, because very early on when I created LaRae Infinity, it was for visual art, like fine visual art. These are my paintings around here. And I was really particular because I was like, how am I going to do this? What kind of brand am I going to be? Am I going to be able to be myself in these moments? I was working at a university at the time, and I was bartending, and I was like, how? And I was really nervous about, is my brand gonna cuss? Am I gonna be able to be? And this was before branding was a big deal and being authentic and being yourself. And I just decided I'm just gonna be me. So whatever that looks like, that's what LaRae Infinity will be. And the 10 toes down. And I very much resonate with like Ben and Jerry's. Ben and Jerry's is like, fuck that. This is not cool. I want to do it like this. And so when you say the blueprint of brands, you know, obviously they're not in media, but they visually, they helped me through COVID. Because I'd go there and I'm like, okay, so we're not wilding out and this is wrong. And there's an old white dude company saying it and not saying that they give permission. But so for me and my brand, that's one thing I knew from the beginning. So that's why I had to also be like, okay, I reserve the right to change my mind or add more information to the conversations. Centrell, did you have anything you wanted to add?
Yeah, sure. So I'll give an example. I was not a fan of social media. I'm one of those folks who just got on social media in 2017. So, and it was because I didn't like the stuff that was on it. And I also am a very private person. So I feel like you don't need to know the story. You know the story because you were there for the story. And that allows you in. Everyone doesn't get to come in. And I think social media gives a very false, a false view of all of these people that are your friends. And they're really just getting access to your life because you want them to. Now, I have changed my mind on that because I also realize that social media is a means of exposure that is at a rate that you cannot get in a room like this. Each and every one of us has a network and maybe has more than 1,000 people. And I'm looking at this room and at minimum, we have 250,000 people that could be touched from a video. So what happens when you're not taking pictures of your food? What happens when you're actually saying something meaningful? And when I was told to get on social media, and I remember saying, yeah, I'm not doing that. And someone was like, all of the things that you share with me, you don't want to put that on social media? How selfish are you? And I thought, oh, well, that's a different way of looking at it. I didn't really like that. Yet I took it to heart because it came from someone that knew me for a very long time. And now I understand that social media is a tool and that some people don't use it the right way. And some people are still trying to find their voice. Therefore, they take someone else's until they can find theirs. And that's what you see on social media a lot. So it's not really about whether or not someone is canceling you per se. Are they canceling who you're pretending to be? So find your voice, do the things that work for you. And I bet as time goes on, you'll find that it aligns because you will make it align, right? People will trust the reason why you did the thing you did, and they will trust that you changed for the reason you said you changed. And it's okay to change. Thank you.
Yeah, no, amazing.
Yeah.
One thing I wanted to add to that, because those were excellent points, is that especially when you are a business owner or you are the brand, you have to understand that people are responding. People don't understand that they're constantly responding to marketing. And so with that point, people are engaged in things that resonate to a part of who they are. But we know in this culture, especially in Western culture, in this society, that there is a lot of identity development that does not happen at stages where it used to happen. And so people are essentially finding themselves on YouTube. They're finding themselves in TikTok videos. They're finding themselves on Instagram. And they're still searching for themselves as they're finding themselves. So as a business owner, don't take it personal, but also canceled by who?
That part.
I know what I say. I be like,
And what is cancellation? Because all these so-called people that have been canceled are still very prominent and very public from what I can tell.
and they're getting paid for being canceled, by the
Yeah.
way.
Well, because they say all press is good press.
That's what they say.
So when we're talking about technology, right now, AI is a big topic. AI has been around for a while. I think it's coming to the forefront. I'd say from a social media type of perspective, all these videos and people are using Sora. How many of y'all are using Sora out there? Have you heard of Sora?
Yeah.
Try it out. Using it through other platforms. Okay. Yeah, right. So there's some things going on when we're looking at AI and we're trying to figure it out. We're talking about trying to figure out ourselves and showing up authentically, but then we have this new tool called AI, and these videos are not necessarily authentic, right? They're prompted and generated, and you can say and do, and it could be anything. So what are you all looking at when it comes to AI? And are you worried? Are you excited? How do you think this is going to help, hurt, scale your businesses? And I guess, what are you most looking forward to or not looking forward to when it comes to this, I'd say, new world of AI and in this space?
Okay, so I'm looking forward to building a completely AI-driven team agency for everything in my business, and making sure that my current team and the employees that I bring on are so well versed that they can run those agencies. Because we're not going backwards. So technology is constantly progressive. And one of the things that I constantly share with my team is, I want you to be looking at the tools and bring those to our morning meetings. We do a Scrum meeting every morning. I want to know what the updates are, what's the strategy, what roadblocks do you have, so that we can knock those out and have a productive day. So what is the next tool that's going to take 20 hours of your time and turn it into one? And that's your role. That's your responsibility to bring to us. Because what that means as a business owner is I now get to do 20 times what I was just doing. That means 20 times the revenue, less the amount of time, right? And it doesn't mean you're sacrificing quality. It means that you are able to serve your clients better. Our motto is to build collaborations and connect your media brand. And that's not just with strategic partners. It's with tools. It's with things that help our clients to do and be better. And so scaling in that way also allows us to adjust, especially economically. This 2025 has been, these streets are crazy. So, people need to have access to the things they need to scale their businesses, run their marketing, their social, email, web, CRM ecosystems. We need to be able to help those clients do that, and do that in a way that's not expensive. The only way I can do that is to scale back on one of the biggest things that we pay for as business owners, and that's payroll. So you've got your payroll, you have your technology, your resources, all of the other things that you pay to keep the lights on. So I plan on using AI for that. I will caution, though, we are very point and click happy in this society. You need to make sure you're reading the agreements and the contracts of these platforms. And when they say that they're going to do something, make sure that you understand what that implication is to your business. Do they own your content? Do they have the ability to recreate you, right? Does anyone in here, have you trademarked your business, your name? Have you copywritten anything? Okay. And any content you create, you should be also copywriting. So you need to be making sure that you go to the copyright office and copyright all of your materials, because one of the things that has not really shown its face yet, it's happening, is all of this digital theft. So you're putting something on social media, it's yours. How do you prove you were the originator? How do you prove you were the creator of it? You don't, unless you have a record of that. So AI is going to give you everything that you need. Don't be afraid of it. Be educated about it. Utilize the tools, research them first, right? That was a bar from earlier. Make sure that you're researching. I know we don't like to read yet, guys. This is your livelihood. This is your business. You don't want someone walking up and becoming you. They can clone you. They can take your voice, etc. Just be vigilant about how you use the tools, because they can be great or they cannot.
Yeah, absolutely. Yesterday on the part one of the panel, Derek from Loud Music was talking about that. He was saying that they were literally playing a video game, and one of his artists' music came up in the video game, and the artist didn't know that the music was in the video game. And so that goes back to that ownership and knowing the contract and everything, and who has the rights to it and all that stuff. When we're working with clients, we always let them know that, their content is in our portfolio, but we're not going to use it full form unless they need us to do something for them. So even things like that as you're thinking. And also when you're opening up and starting as a business, and maybe one of y'all can touch on this, is, and you said something earlier that kind of touches on it, is those first early adapter clients, those are the ones that you try things out with. And then you remember that you tried things out with them. So when they need something, boots on the ground, grassroots, you still do that stuff for them, because some of it is the loyalty of the beginning customer. But the question Khalil asked, I'll give it back to you.
So I love AI discussions in this era. A lot of people are afraid of AI. And what happens with fear is that there's a lot of just not understanding what's going on. That's the core of a lot of people's fear. If we're talking about artificial intelligence, it has been around for decades. You've been engaging with it for years. Anytime you hear something about the algorithm, that's an AI. So we have to demystify this whole concept of, it's AI. The way that I utilize AI in the business, I still do a lot of my ideations on pen and paper, because I have to come to a certain point before I ask chat.
Chat doesn't get it right all the time.
Yeah, so I have to bring myself to a point now I can engage chat. I love automation tools. I have a team now, but I started off as a solopreneur. And when you are a solopreneur, you're doing all the things yourself. So all of those administrative tasks, all of the legal tasks, just everything yourself, marketing. And that becomes overwhelming, which is why the statistic is still that, most businesses fail. I think it's 90% is the statistic within the first 5 years, is because people get burned out, trying to start, launch, and run a business. So AI helps with a lot of that. You do still have to know what you're doing. I've had people reporting to me trying to use AI for a portion of the business that they were not experienced in, and I can see the AI. So, there was no masking done at all. But it also lets me know that person doesn't know enough to supervise the AI, because you have to prevent it from hallucinating. Otherwise, you're putting things out that are false. That's how people are getting in trouble. On the creative side, though, I think we're in an interesting space as a society, because, of course, you have, like we were talking about, the babies and all that. So when we get past all of the AI slop that people are creating, what you will find is that you will have really authentic creators that are utilizing AI tools to create stunning visuals that amplify their story. And that's essentially what I was talking about when I first spoke on the mic, is that visual storytelling that pulls people in, where you can utilize it and it's actually art as well as your journey that resonates with your customer, because they recognize your branding that you can utilize and leverage in your marketing to further your business. So I think that AI is a wonderful tool. I don't think that as creatives we have to shy away from it, because you have some people out there that are making Tupac spoofs or whatever of songs.
I felt that. I did. Mr. Rogers.
But then you also have people, audio engineers and producers, who are able to plug in what sounds like a full orchestra without having to spend 2 weeks fine-tuning and doing the parts for each instrument, because they have encountered AI tools that allow them to get that sound that they're looking for on that track faster. So I think it's about how you use it and how you interact with it, and always continue to educate yourself. There's so many AI tools. I've been at Afrotech this week, so I'm AI'd out right now. But there's a lot of things out there, and I've learned a lot this week about what else I could be using to help grow my business. And so it's actually very inspiring, and that's why I started off saying this is the greatest equalizer I've ever seen, because there's no barriers for me to learn, the legal ramifications of, if we do an installation outside on the street, or there's nothing that I have to do to automate my marketing. All I have to do is develop the marketing plan and implement it in this SaaS, and then it's doing all of that work for me without me having to go to several different firms and hire all these different people, which blows out your operating budget. So I think that, you really have to take the time and research these AIs and figure out what's going to work best for you and your business, because ChatGPT is not just the all-over answer. It's not God. There are other things out there. So maybe you're not a chat person. Maybe you're a Claude person. And maybe that Claude is going to help you better tell your story. And then for all the other parts of the business, just really researching and figuring out what's going to work for you and not rushing into things. Because like you said, reading those user agreements. Because what I like to say is that the landscape has changed, but the inhabitants are the same. This is still Big Corp. So they're going to try to own everything because that's what they do.
So some might consider me a conspiracy theorist. I say I am a critical thinker. But no, I think looking at AI, it is scary, right? Because we don't know what it's capable of. We can infer, we can look at things, but when you take a look at online, for instance, and people creating this content that's not real, you have a lot of people that believe it. I can't tell you how many people post AI photos of themselves and they're like saying thank you to compliments and all this stuff. Like it's I know it's not new, but it's new to the masses, I will say, and the access that people have. It isn't equalized. Everybody, that means everybody, even the ones that, even everybody, okay? That's where I'll leave it. Everybody has access. And when you have these algorithms and things where there's so many people who only get information that they agree with. And so that part to me is scary. And so I think, but obviously as a business owner, I can't sit in a corner and be afraid of it. So we're still using it. However, because we work with corporate and government, we have to be very careful. And that's where that research piece that everybody here has spoken about is so important, because a lot of times these companies, their information is proprietary or it's very sensitive. And we can't just put it in AI and hope that AI is going to solve the problem. We have to be very upfront with our clients. We have to get their written permission. We have to understand those terms of use and who owns what before we use it. But we still use it a lot in our business. I'll give you an example. So we were paying an astronomical amount for this call service that we've used for years. And it was because I had the belief that if anybody calls, we need to answer the phone. So we were paying this call center all this money for quite a while. And this year we started using an AI receptionist, and that cut costs significantly. And so we're using it in a lot of ways like that. And I, too, make it a requirement for my team to find ways to use AI. So if you have a role in this company, you need to figure out, even if it takes you twice as long to figure it out, we need to get ahead of it. We need to understand how it works. We need to see, again, how we can make that better customer experience. So we're definitely using it, but I definitely think you have to be careful. You have to educate yourself. You have to not just jump on bandwagons and not just do things and give your likeness away and your rights away. And so I think just approaching it from that standpoint, it can be very useful. However, it's a scary thought when you just think about going back to ownership and things that we talked about earlier and who owns what and who has access to what information. So just protect yourself, protect your brand, protect your clients. It has a lot of uses, and I think it definitely can be great for your business growth. But the other point that I'll make is about it being scary is when you look at companies like Amazon, who I've heard, and I don't know how true it is, but are projected to lay off, I think it's like 600,000 workers by 2030 because of, automation. And so when you think about that part is also a little scary, because when people don't have jobs, then that hurts our economy. And when people don't have money, they can't buy food, right? And I won't get into all the politics and everything that's going on currently, but just looking at it from that standpoint, yes, it's great. And yes, it does all these wonderful things, but we also have to be thinking broadly about the larger implications that it has on our society. So just be careful.
I love that. Yeah. Bars all day. Okay. So we have 5 minutes, and everybody on this stage right now, their billable hours over $500. So what we're going to do is we're going to play rapid fire. So if you have questions, we want to answer them, and we want some engagement, right? And I think that's really important. And then ladies, if y'all have time to stick around, please do. I'm sure there's people that want to talk to y'all, but we want to open it up for questions. So does anybody have a question? See, here we go. Were you ladies prepared to scale fast during COVID?
I don't know if prepared's the right word. I think you just, in business, you have to do what you have to do, right? Stuff is always happening. We survived Hurricane Harvey. We survived pandemic. Who knows what else we're going to have to survive. So I think you have to always be thinking about how you can be prepared for whatever's going to happen. And doing that research and the things that we've already talked about is so important, having team members in place. So all of those things come into play. But I can't say we were 100% prepared, because I don't think anybody was prepared for a global pandemic. But I think just having those relationships and things in place helped us be more prepared. Yeah.
Oh, did you want it?
I didn't scale during COVID. So I took COVID and completely rebranded, so I was fine.
From my perspective, there's a lot of things I participate in to continually sharpen my skills as a CEO. So I had taken things like some of the supplier diversity trainings that help you get prepared for emergency response. Have your SOPs. What are your emergency, procedures for your team, et cetera. But also remember, I worked in tech, so I've been working from home since 2008. So I taught my team how to do things at home. We don't need to be in the studio editing all night. You go home, find a quiet place, edit this project, because I don't want to be there at 2:00 in the morning just to come back at 7. It just doesn't make any sense. And then all the work that I had put in with those clients, I was already doing research. Yet I will tell you that once it comes into play, doesn't matter how much groundwork you've laid, you're still going to be presented with things that you have never experienced before, and you're going to need to adjust to that. Yet when you stay ready so you don't have to get ready, the rest of those things are just another step in the process, right? All the big things you've already taken care of.
Yeah. I think we're all kind of talking heads on the stage, right? And you see the people creeping up on me. The team is doing a good job, so you have about 2 minutes. So question quickly, please.
All right, so this question is for Central.
Okay.
Great talk. And I am a YouTuber. I have a YouTube channel, Superpower Soap.
Okay.
And I'm curious, when does it make sense to transition from putting content on YouTube to potentially streaming?
So putting content on YouTube versus potentially streaming, and it's Superpower Soap, the owner of it, because we want to make sure we get it in the mics.
Superpower.
Superpower Soap.
So honestly, I think it starts with what the vision was when you began. The way that I explain to my clients about how to use social media platforms or any free streaming platforms is to utilize those as marketing tools to send them somewhere where they can pay you, because you are already investing in the platform. I mean, they've already gotten everyone addicted to the fact that my content is in this place while you're making billions of dollars for them. You went and got your equipment. You got all of your people. You went and created all of the talking points. You set up all the lighting. Everything looks nice. You're excited. You organize the entire production, and you give it to someone for free who tells you, go ahead and get 1,000 views, get 4,000 subscribers. All of these things, you've got to now earn the right to make money while they're making money from the first time someone looks at your content. That's not good business. So I would rather take my money, which is what I did. And I have to also preface this with, I had a very good Fab Five that told me when I first started business, own your own content. That's number one. And I own no one's content. Anything that we do not own anyone's content. And you should never let anyone own your content, your name, anything that is attached to your business, you should own that. Own your own content. Have a business manager. Have your CPA or the person that does your books. Have a good assistant, and make sure you have a good attorney. And let me tell you, that good attorney, that's a serious one. I've had my moments, and to be able to pick up the phone and say, hey, I need someone to handle this, and handle it right is important. Yet don't play with your brand. You're going to put the money into it. You're going to build a business. Then don't just give it to someone and say, hey, you make all the money until I can meet your expectations. That's the wrong thing. Invest in yourself first. And most of the platforms that are going to pay you, our platform pays you from the first view. So you're making money from the moment you start streaming. And that's because ads are running from the moment you start streaming. Sound familiar? Right. That's what's happening. So we're making money, you're making money. Yet most people don't market because they say, oh, well, I'm on YouTube, so I'm getting all of these views, yet you don't have 1,000 subscribers. And they know what metrics, they know what algorithms to put there so that you just keep on the hamster wheel. And you think you're not spending money, yet you're spending time. Whether it's a $500 billable hour and I decide to sit here and talk to you, or whether you just spend 5 hours planning a production with all of those elements, and when you count it all up, how much money have you given away? So,
Can we give these panelists a round of applause, please? Gems were dropped. I know I learned a lot just by moderating. I think that was a great question. So if you want to hear more from them, where can we find you all quickly? Whether that's your LinkedIn or Instagram, where can we find you and your business?
sure. So I will say a few things here real quickly. November the 4th is voting day. There's a lot of props on the ballot. I am a presiding judge, just in case you don't know where to vote. 2929 McKinney Street is Combined Arms. It is a voting facility. It's in Harris County. As a matter of fact, it's about 10 minutes up the street. Find yourself in a voting place and make sure you cast your ballot. Two, we have a soiree for the International Entertainment Partnership on November the 30th, and you want to be in the place. We have a fashion show, awards, VIP, red carpet. We have everything on deck, including all of your tech stuff, film, TV. It's just an amazing elevation for Houston's entertainment industry, and it's a part of making sure that Houston becomes an entertainment hub. So find yourself there. You can get tickets online, or you can connect with me on social media, Centrell Reed or IEP Greater HOU on social media. And then, of course, Creed Global Media, and that's CREED Global Media. Thank you guys for having me.
So again, my name is Isani Apedimek Sabah. The name of my company is Aesthetic Alchemy. That's alchemy with a K. And for all of you that are in attendance, I actually have a special promotion for Aesthetic Alchemy that I'd love to give to every one of you before I depart today. And if you do want to follow me personally, Goddess Isani, EISANI.
So all my company social media handles are Twice Media Productions. And then I'm on LinkedIn all day. So Tiffany Williams, you might have to put in Twice Media to find me because there's a lot of Tiffany Williams out there. But Tiffany L. Williams. There's a lot of Tiffany L. Williams out there too. My last name actually changed last month, but I haven't officially changed it yet.
Meet me at the
So I won't be the
altar.
only one anyway. I mean, I won't be one of many for long. But yeah, that's how you find me.
So Khalil Vincent, founder, CEO of TechFest Live. You all can find TechFest Live at TechFest Live, whether that's on Instagram, LinkedIn. Our YouTube channel is at _TechFest Live, so we're going to work on that, getting the underscore out of the way. But yeah, would love to connect with you all. So thank you.
Yep. Legina Ray, you can find me I'm Googleable, so Google me. No, but LaRae Infinity Media, we love working in media spaces, amplifying through like storytelling and really working with people that want to do that, especially entrepreneurs and business owners and people that are doing the work around social impact. Because I love positively disrupting spaces that need the shit said that's not being said, but everybody's thinking. Because we're in a space where the level of polite that we're at is not working. So, yeah. Thank you so much, everybody. Khalil, thank you for being my co-moderator. And all right, y'all have an amazing day. All right, bye.